Hello everyone. Getting ready to go on my first bicycle tour and wanted to share some of the stuff that I've learned lately. I've been wanting to do this for a while and I'm just now getting around to be able to do it and stuff. I've before we get started, a little background about me. A few years ago, I was pretty overweight and out of shape, and like a lot of people, wanted to improve my overall health. So I weighed about 260, and I'm 6 foot tall, and I've lost 60 pounds since then. But I started cycling to kind of cross train because the jogging and stuff was hurting my knees, and I just really took to it. I enjoy it a lot, and the cycle touring sounded really awesome to me. I remember reading about it in a book, and I thought, wow, people do that. That sounds great. And I just wasn't really able to ride very far for a long time, and so I'm only going on a one-nighter, at least here for my first time, and I suspect later I may go on some that are a little longer, 3 or 4 nights. But the main reason why I really want to make this video is because I feel like there's probably a lot of other cyclers out there, or beginner cyclers like me, that do want to tour, but you watch a lot of these YouTube videos, and I really enjoy watching them, but some of these people are cycling around the world and stuff, and I've got a feeling there's got to be more average Joe cyclers like me that you just want to go for one night or 2 nights or something because uh, you have obligations. Like me, I have 2 daughters and a wife and a job, so I can't leave home for months and months at a time. I'm not intending to go around the world or anything. I just want to get out and enjoy my bike for a couple of days. So uh, I'm not the best cameraman, and so I don't always do the very best on my YouTube videos. So if you can forgive that, hopefully there's at least something in here that can help somebody. And if it only helps one person, then hey, it was all worth the effort. So I'll show you what my bike and then the gear and stuff like that. So we'll just take this one piece at a time. The bike is a Specialized Diverge, which if you don't know what that is, it's what they advertise as an adventure bike, a gravel bike. They've got different terms for it. It's basically a road bike with a little bit wider tires and disc brakes. This bike has, the gearing is a compact double, and I wish it had a triple, and I'm going to convert it to a triple. It's not just because I plan on doing a few little tours with it. It's because I live in the Ozark Mountains, so just some of the riding that I do every day, it can get pretty hilly, and so I am going to probably convert it to a triple, or I'm going to put a 10-speed on it. It's got an 8-speed right now, and then I'll put a bigger cassette in the rear, like 40 tooth or something, if I can make it work. I haven't decided which one yet, and eventually I'll probably upgrade the wheels, but that's neither here nor there. So it's just basically a regular old road bike, and it has the option, obviously, as you can see, to put a rack on the rear. And I don't know, I know some road bikes you can, and I know some you can't, so I don't really know the take there of how many you can versus how many you can't. But this one doesn't seem to have the mounts on for a front rack, so, but that's fine, because for everything I'm going to need to be doing, just having the panniers in the rack in the rear is all I really need. So yeah, it's just basically a stock road bike, which from everything I've read, you really don't need a special touring bike to go touring. You could do it on just about any bike. And I've got a hybrid and a mountain bike as well, but obviously this is the bike that I mostly ride all the time. So, but I think that I could do it on any one of those bikes that my cat's wanting to say hi to y'all. I think you could do it on just about any bike that you wanted to. So you can see in the rear, I've got panniers. I'll show you those in a little more detail here in a minute. I've got, this looks really bulky and heavy. It's probably a lot lighter than what you think it is. I've weighed everything with my water bottles and my frame pump and tools and everything except food and water. It was 20, 22 pounds, somewhere in that area. I say somewhere in that area because I actually did some things to kind of lighten it up, and I haven't weighed it since then. So I guess I might weigh it all again before I go. I don't know. Because I'm weight conscious about this because, as I said, I'm in a lot better shape than I was, but I still weigh 200 pounds at 6 foot, so I'm a little heavier than what I think most cyclers for my height would be. And I haven't cycle toured before, but I've backpacked, and you can probably tell by my voice, and my throat's a little sore today, but I'm sure you can still tell I'm a southern boy. I've been camping and then hunting and stuff in the outdoors since I was a kid. So weight is important to me because I've made that mistake of backpacking with too much weight. So I know how it can really mess up your trip if you're not careful. So, and I wasn't sure what it would be like to ride a bike with this much weight or anything like that. So as I was packing everything, I mean, I made a list and changed it about 15 times, just messing around before I actually got serious and started packing everything. So, but my big Achilles heel is this tent. This is a 2-person tent. It's just one I had laying around. I used to have a 1-person tent, but I think it got ripped. So, and I kind of had a budget for this trip, and I sort of blew that on the Panniers and some other things. So, I'm just going to stick with it. It weighs 6.5 pounds. It's way too heavy. It's way too big, but it'll work for one night. This is just a cheap foam bedroll. I don't even really know if I need it. I think I could probably be okay sleeping on the ground for one night, but it doesn't weigh much, so it'll be nice to have. And I think eventually I'll probably get one that's nicer, one of the air up ones or something like that. I'm not sure. And you can see I just have that bungeed on there, and I rode 30 miles like this yesterday with this setup, so it didn't move around or anything. And I'll kind of tell you what my experience was of riding with all this weight here in a minute. But I've got a cheap bike lock. Not going into any high crime rate areas or anything. Obviously, these aren't really very good. Probably what I would like to do in the future is pair this with an alarm, a very lightweight bike alarm, and I feel like for most of the places that I would go, that would offer enough security. 2 water bottles, that's going to be enough. There's going to be water where I'm going, and I'm going to be around a lot of stores on my way to my destination, wherever I decide to go, so that's not really an issue. And I figure there's probably a lot of you out there, again, that it's in that same situation. You're maybe cycling in places that aren't all that remote. I mean, even here in rural Arkansas, I'm going to be cycling by tons of stores and stuff, so I can always find a place to get water. Same thing with my food. I'm not really taking a lot of food because I can stop at a store when I get close to my destination and buy some food for my dinner and stuff. I've got some snacks in this little gas tank bag. I may take this gas tank bag off and just put the snacks in my jersey pockets. I'm not sure. This doesn't weigh that much. It's just, it was on here because I always ride with it. I don't know why. I should probably take it not, but it's really convenient, so I always have that whether I'm touring or not. This flashlight I've had several different front lights, and this is one that I like. It's kind of heavy and bulky, but it's really bright. It's basically a flashlight. You can get these on Amazon or anywhere that's from China, and they're all advertised different. I own a couple of them that just were sold as flashlights, and this one was sold as a bike light, but it's just identical to the other ones, except it came with a handlebar mount. But I've mounted this into other bike flashlight mounts, and it fit. It was just, they were a little tighter. It's got a 1650 rechargeable lithium-ion battery, and the battery doesn't last super long. I suspect if I found a better battery, but I like it because it's going to double as a flashlight when I'm camping. So, and it's got this here so that I can hang it from a tree or something if I need to. So that's really nice. And as far as lights go, one other thing, I've got one of these Bodyguard rear lights, and I like it because it's got the white LEDs in it, and the battery lasts a long time on this. And I never ride without a light, and especially like a rear light. It doesn't matter if it's cloudy or what. I just always like having a light. I feel safer. And this one's rechargeable through a micro USB port on the side, so this can be hung up in a tent or hung up in the campsite, and that little bitty light there will go a long way at night to helping you see your way around and stuff. You'd be surprised. I actually kind of turned the lights off in the house and walked around with it, and was pretty surprised. So I like things that kind of double or that are multi-purpose, because I'm utilitarian. It's sort of my personality anyway. But this is just a fanny pack, and the reason why I have it is because if I'm gonna have to go into a store and leave my bike outside, I want something that I can wear some of my valuables in. As stupid as fanny packs look, that would kind of fulfill that. And plus it was just to help get some of the weight on the front of the bicycle so it wouldn't be totally unbalanced. So some of the heavier items like the tools are in here. If I were, and then I may keep my smartphones in there, and if I take this camera, which I probably will, if it's not mounted on the handlebars, it'll probably be in here. Just some of the heavier, smaller items. Also, I have a concealed carry weapons permit, so I may take my weapon with me, and if I do, I definitely don't want to leave that on my bicycle unattended. So I would need that to wear in the store or restaurant or something. So that was the only solution to that problem I could come up with. And these are really cheap, and it doesn't weigh that much. So as far as what it's like to, and I have a frame mounted air pump. I'm not going to be taking any CO2 cartridges. That should do me just fine. As far as what it's like to ride a bicycle with this much weight, it was definitely a learning experience. I thought it was going to be terrible. Even at a load of just over 20 pounds, I thought it was going to be really not that fun, and I was kind of worried that maybe that might make my trip just about miserable, really. And so I rode 30 miles, and what I found out was that it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was. Yes, I went slower. I only averaged 11.7 or 11.9 miles per hour over about 30 miles. Now that would have been a lot faster, but I took some back roads toward the beginning of my ride, and I seemed to be slowed down a lot more by the extra weight on the rougher roads than I did out on the flat highway. The flat highway, I was glancing down at my speedometer and definitely hitting 18, 20 miles per hour sometimes, and felt really good on the flat, smooth road. I mean, I was really surprised. So, and even after 30 miles, I did not feel wiped out at all. I felt really like I had rode 30 miles without all the extra weight. Again, this is just for one night, so if you were going for more, I would have to take more gear. More clothes and probably more tools than what I have here. But I kind of come up with a rule to myself is that anything I do in cycle touring from this point on, I'm just going to try to keep that load below 30 pounds. As long as I can keep it below 30, especially if it was below 30 with the food and maybe with the water, that would be, I think, fine. So that's just something that I come up with. I mean, I read online what other people do and what type of weight they bring, and you hear all kinds of stuff, and I guess you gotta take it with a grain of sand. But this load here, like I said, not really a problem. Now going up hills, I definitely could feel it. I didn't happen to go up, even though it's really hilly where I live. I kind of just happened to choose a flatter route. So I know that if I were going to be going up a mountain, this extra weight would really be a hindrance to me. And so I think with that compact double, that would be a problem. I think with a triple, it wouldn't be so bad. I'd just be a little slower. So that's one reason, like as I said before, I want to go to the triple. But I think if you're a stronger cycler, with this amount of weight, no more than what it is, I think you really wouldn't have any problems at all, even going up, reasonable sized mountains and hills. So, but one of the problems that I had is when you lean the bike over to mount, that weight just literally tries to pull the bike over, and you can feel the rear tire trying to kick away from you. So it's a little trickier to mount and dismount. When I would come to a stop, I found myself kind of wanting to clip out both feet so I would be a little bit more steady. Not really necessary if you're on really level ground, but if you're on a little bit of a hill or a rough road or something, that seemed to kind of help. Acceleration's definitely slower, especially from a stop sign. I found myself doing a lot of the standing pedal to get up to speed a little. So definitely felt it there. Bumps definitely I think you can feel them a little bit more. You go faster down the hills with this extra weight. I've noticed that. It definitely catches more wind. Just all this stuff hanging out, and it wasn't windy yesterday, so, and the wind really never blows here in Arkansas at all. So, but I could feel when a vehicle would go by or something. I could definitely feel how if you were in a lot of wind, this would be definitely not very stable and comfortable to ride. I could see where that would be a problem. But yeah, it was not nearly as bad as I thought, so I was kind of surprised. And I may do some videos during the tour and definitely do one after, because I'll be going a lot more miles than 30, and even for just one day. So, but yeah, don't be scared. And I definitely think and I did this because that's what everyone said to do. But do what I did, load everything up and go for a pretend ride, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. And that way, if it was too heavy, or if you had some things that you were leaving out because you were afraid it would be too heavy, then you kind of get an idea. And then also there's the issue about just making sure everything's going to work and nothing's going to rub or fall off or anything like that. Like this bungee cord, I was going to put 2 bungee cords on here, but this one seems to be holding it just fine. So anyway, I think I'll go ahead and I'll show you the Panniers now. Just because I want to show you this particular set, because I didn't really find any reviews on this particular set of Panniers. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I didn't really see any on YouTube for this particular set. And then also, I had never really been around a lot of people that cycle or that tour, that commute a lot, so I wasn't familiar with how these kind of worked. So I'll show you that, and then like I said, after that we'll get everything spread out and I'll show you what I got packed. Okay, I'll show you the Panniers. This comes from Nash Bar. It's their brand. They're waterproof, and it was $80 for the set. And I'm sure that the Ortlibs are the ones that seem to be the most popular. They're probably better in some way that I don't really know because I don't own them. But these seem amazingly good for $80 to me. Especially in the fact that they're waterproof, and you can see how big this is. It would hold way more stuff than what I would be taking, especially for one night, or really even like 3 or 4. There'd be plenty of space in these. So no issues there. But in order to use these, in case you don't know, you have to have a you have to have a rack. And the way that they connect is on the back. You'll see it's got this bungee system, and it's got 2 hooks that go over the top bar on the rack, and then it's got this hook at the bottom, and as you can see, these 3 contact points are all sort of connected through this little bungee system, and then it goes through this hard plastic flap at the bottom, and that hooks to the bottom part of the rack. It hooks right in between these 2 parts here. The hook goes up in there, and that keeps the bag from pulling away from the bike. And most of the reviews that I read online, people said that these were fine. There were a few people that had negative things to say. They said that they came off easily. After what little bit I've used them, I can't imagine that they would come off easily. I mean, they're attached very firmly. You would have to be in a bad crash with a lot of weight or something, in which case these coming off would be the least of your issues. I can't imagine how normal riding would make them come off, but again, haven't used them that much, so I could be wrong. But there's three snaps to when you pull this top part down to close it up. I mean, one on each side, one in the middle. The only thing I would say negative about them, and this isn't really that big of a deal, some of the more expensive brands have a mesh thing sewed into the top so that you can put your clothes or something here to carry or to let them dry off. So they have like a mesh bungee system, but that's not too big of a deal that it doesn't have that. This main thing was waterproof, and then this, I guess it's just to help carry them too. But the way that you install these is you put the hook in, or at least the way I found, you put the hook in the bottom first, and then you pull up. You can use this handle here to pull up on the whole pannier, and that'll allow you to let these come up around the top bar. Actually, I'll just do it for you so you can see. If I can do it one-handed. Okay, you can see I've got that hook up under there, but you can see that these at the top, they're not even close enough to that bar at the top. So the way that you install it is you just use this handle to pull up, and then those lock around the top of that bar, and you can see it's quite a bit of tension on there, and it would be really difficult for that to come off. So anyway, I only have good things to say about them for 80 bucks. I would definitely buy them again, but you know, we'll see after I use them so many times. Maybe I'll have to upgrade them, but I kind of doubt it. So I just thought I would show you how that works and what little bit I know about these, because when I started researching them, I was a little confused. It's really simple, but it's one of those things, if you've never messed with them, like me, you probably, I mean, maybe you don't really know. So anyway, hopefully that helped at least one person out there. Let's take a look at everything I had inside of them.